What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Thursday, April 10th, 2025, and we're back with another midday live here on the Torian Rain Reloaded channel. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new. And if you are new to the channel, I'm glad that you are here. Hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. Also, make sure to pay attention to the pinned link at the top of the chat. I'm still on here promoting Carmelo Anthony's Give, Send, Go. It is currently, it's over 300,000 and it's still continuing to rise. So if you haven't donated, please be sure to do so. And if you have, donate again. Let's see who we have here so far in the chat or who came in early. We got Tamisha, MV Skoke OMV, Dimple Face. Shout out to Hurricane Nisi for being a member of the channel for 14 months. I appreciate it. We got Reparations Nation, Brother Man to You, Wallow J. Who else? Royal Me, Dark Titan, Dewani Kane, the bad guy, Bills Fan 1970, MML, Vincent Taylor, Dark Titan, Don P, Luna Lush, Nini 64, and let's see, Anthony Phillips and Black Spider. Shout out to everybody who is here so far, and if anyone is not able to catch the live in real time, shout out to the replay gang. So today we're going to be talking about an individual I have not talked about since before they ran for governor and won for the state of Maryland, and that is Wes Moore. For those outside of the state of Maryland or those who are not too knee deep into politics, Wes Moore is the current governor for the state of Maryland. He took over after Larry Hogan stepped down. I kind of knew he was going to win. He definitely had the popularity to win. I personally didn't vote for him because, well, I could see the writing on the wall. And I think I only talked about Wes Moore one time on my channel, like I said before, and that was when there was some kind of Latino / Hispanic business event or something like that, and he was there and he was speaking at it or something like that. I can't remember. I did the video maybe like 2.5 years ago. If y'all go back and look, like if you just type my name in the search bar and just type in Wes Moore, the video should pop up. And I had some issues about when he did that. I'm like, wow, he did all of that, but where was he at when it came to, I'm sure there was some Black small businesses events that he could have attended that I guess, I don't know, wasn't fitting into his schedule. So no surprise when I came across this about a week ago. And I'm going to go ahead now and share the screen. It's not going to take me long to get through this because it's only one article. Well, it's a video, it's a news clip that goes with it. And KG has mentioned Wes Moore before in the past, and you probably heard him mention his name, even if you don't live in the state of Maryland. And I'm not going to be surprised if they're going to try to poison him to be or run for president in 2028. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. And if not 2028, 2032. But let's go ahead and see what they talk about. Oh, by the way, the name of the article is called Maryland Reparations Bill Inches Forward as Governor Wes Moore dodges questions on the initiative.
Well, the bill to establish a reparations commission is gaining momentum as session 2025 winds down. Gary Collins with our Spotlight on Maryland team has an update.
Announced as a priority of the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland this session, a bill to study the feasibility of state reparations had successfully passed the Maryland Senate. We asked lawmakers, and we tried to ask the governor about what they thought about this new commission. Without much debate or conversation,
Senator Muse, State Government Maryland Reparations Commission.
A bill for the state to study giving reparations, including financial payments to balance past racial injustices, passed the state Senate 2 weeks ago.
Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
A bill that's been part of a larger national conversation in several states after the 2020 death of George Floyd in Minneapolis.
Senate Bill 587, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
We don't have the money to be exploring these options right now, period.
Now listen to what this dude just said right here, this Justin Reddy guy. We don't have the money to explore these options right now. And I hope the people who live in the state that I'm in, because this is a state thing, that live in the state of Maryland, I hope y'all are listening right now. This guy just said we don't have the money to handle this right now, but they'll find the money for anything else. So as you can see, it's like the more things are, the more they're the same. What's going on here is happening in a lot of other different states too, and they keep giving out the same excuse. And if I have anybody who lives in the state of Maryland, when I drop the link for people to come up and speak, I definitely, if you can come up, because I know it's a midday, so some of y'all are like kind of sneak listening right now. If you aren't on your break, I would definitely like to hear from you about this.
State Minority Whip Justin Reedy told Spotlight on Maryland that amid a $3.3 billion historic deficit, with future years in the state budget looking equally tough.
And I question whether using taxpayer money would ever be appropriate in this context.
Well, I see the R next to his name, so that tells me all I need to know. But that doesn't take away from Wes Moore dodging no questions.
Even going back to when reparations were paid to survivors of the Holocaust, they went after companies, that were involved, not after taxpayers.
State assemblies in New York and Illinois have recently adopted similar bills to study the feasibility of financial restitution for racial injustices. California was the first state to finish this study, issuing an 11,000-page report that recommended down payments amounting to $1.2 million of restitution per eligible person.
Maryland General Assembly.
We previously asked Governor Wes Moore in mid-January if he...
Now listen to what Wes Moore is about to say, or not say, when they're asking him questions.
Would support state lawmakers' push for reparations.
Reparations. Is that something that your administration would support?
No, I mean, we're going to work with the General Assembly on a whole collection of different issues, and our focus is economic advancement.
Now listen to what he just said. The guy, let me rewind it again, because he technically didn't answer the question. Let me rewind it again so y'all can hear what he asked and what Wes Moore responded with.
Maryland General Assembly.
We previously asked Governor Wes Moore in mid-January if he would support state lawmakers' push for reparations.
Reparations. Is that something that your administration would support?
No, I mean, we're going to work with the General Assembly on a whole collection of different issues, and our focus is
working on the General Assembly on a collection of issues. The question was about reparations and about his administration looking into it. It was a simple yes or no question, and this was what he said. We're looking into a collective of issues, which means no. In my honest opinion, that's what it tells me, flat out no. We're going to put all this other stuff on the front, and we're going to put everything else on the back. Way, 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 way in the back. That's why I keep telling people about these lie-trick-tions. And by the way, for any of those of you out there listening who don't know, Wes Moore is of Caribbean descent. I think one of his parents is Jamaican, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But I think he might be, I know, like I said, I know one of the parents is Jamaican. I'm not sure what the other one is. Yeah, he said a resounding no without actually saying the word no. Let me rewind it one more time.
Administration would support.
No, I mean, we're going to work with the General Assembly on a whole collection of different issues, and our focus is economic advancement.
Focus is on economic advancement. For who? Remember what I told y'all, the video that I did on him a couple years ago when he was campaigning to run for governor. He wasn't governor yet. But when he was campaigning to run for governor, I think back in 2023, who was like, what event was he at when he went out there? It was an event for a lot of Latinos, Hispanics, or Mexicans and their businesses. Like it was like a business conference that was just for them. But he made sure to make time for that. I'm telling y'all, I didn't vote for this man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not vote for him, and that right there is what made me not do it. See, he's falling into the same category as Gavin Newsom is doing. You know how Gavin Newsom, he's out there, he's the governor of California, and how he was acting towards with reparations out there, and how he was acting towards that. And people were saying, Gavin Newsom, tread lightly with how you decide to go in about this situation, because that'll make or break your campaign if you decide to run for president. The same thing can be said for Wes Moore.
Not receiving a direct answer. We took our questions about whether he would sign or veto the pending bill and several other unanswered questions about the budget to Governor Wes Moore as he poured drinks ahead of opening day at Camden Yards.
Now look at who he's surrounding himself around, y'all. And Camden Yards, for y'all who don't know what Camden Yards is, that is where the Baltimore Orioles play at.
Governor. We tried to speak to him once as he passed by. Governor.
Now look, this is the same reporter who asked him the question when he was just by himself, like in a more intimate setting, about reparations, and that you saw what he gave, but when he was trying to talk to him here, he kept dodging him. Now, I will say this probably wasn't the best place to try to ask that question or try to interview anybody, because it's loud, it's noisy, people are just trying to drink. So I probably wouldn't have gone there, but the fact that he had to have known that they were there, and he could clearly see this guy stands out like a sore thumb. The guy is holding a microphone, wearing a suit. Everyone else in there is wearing jerseys. But I probably wouldn't have tried to ask him that question in this setting, though. Just me.
Tried again, and despite the governor stopping to speak with others, he refused to answer our questions. So we decided to ask others in the bar what they think about the reparations bill and if the governor should sign it.
I think the governor, though, is more worried about being popular in a popular contest with other people in the country and maybe trying to do something with the White House than he is worried about the people in the state of Maryland.
Oh, y'all heard what that guy just said? Now, I'm gonna be honest. When I saw this, I said to myself, "Oh God, I wonder what they're gonna say," because I already know they're gonna ask a PC person this question, and we already know how many of them feel about it. Not that we care, but y'all heard what he said. Let me rewind that so you can hear that response again, because I actually kind of agree with that.
The governor should sign.
I think the governor, though, is more worried about being popular in a popular contest.
He said he feels that he's more worried about being popular in a popularity contest. And I've always said that when it comes to a lot of these politicians, is that for them, a lot of this is like a high school superlative. You know, when you was in high school at the end of the year, or maybe at the time when they're getting ready to put the yearbook together, most likely to succeed, best dress, favorite couple, best hair, smartest, high school superlatives. To me, that's how, in my opinion, politics has played out for a while now. But honestly, I think that's how politics plays out and has played out for a long time. If not, why would they have something called the popular vote? You have the electoral vote, and then you have the popular vote. Yeah, Nene, I forgot about that one. Most likely to become president. That was another high school superlative. I forgot about that. Appreciate the reminder.
With other people in the country and maybe trying to do something with the White House than he is worried about the people in the state of Maryland.
So he just also said that he feels like he's trying to do stuff for other people around the country instead of the people that's in the state of Maryland. And mind you, him being the governor, his main focus should be on the state of Maryland. Not saying he's not going to be called to do anything on a federal level, but his primary focus should be on the state that he's governing.
The governor's office questions about the animated response that he received inside of the Camden Yards bar this afternoon, as well as questions about his support for reparations. His office did not directly respond to our questions, instead saying that Governor Moore will work with lawmakers to ensure the state is more affordable, more competitive, and a state that serves.
Again, that's another nothing burger. What does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. They'll find out when you don't get the votes that you wanted. Ask the last candidate. Granted, we in this conundrum that we in right now, but look at the last candidate about that. All I'm gonna say is this: that couch is about to get real comfy again. But yeah, when I saw what Wes Moore had to say, you know what? Let me see if I can pull up the video. That I did on him. Yeah, here it is. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna play the video, y'all. The one that I did on Wes Moore back in 2023. Oh, actually, no, it was 2022. My bad. This is the video right here. And I literally titled it Wes Moore Doesn't Have My Vote. So y'all, I'm gonna speed it up a little bit for the sake of time because it is a 17-minute video. So let me go ahead and speed it up a little bit so we can get through this. And also let me know down in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all seen this video. This will determine how long y'all been subscribed to my channel. Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen this video. Put a 2 if this is gonna be the first time you've heard it. All right. Pam Mulatto says 1. DC Precise said 1. Gloria said 1. Jesse said 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, there's a lot of 2s in here. Okay, we're gonna play the video and I'll and you can see what I mean when I say that. So let me go ahead and let it play. Before I actually get into this, I have to give a shout out to one of my followers on Twitter, Melanated Shadow, because they tagged me in this post. And the irony that I got tagged in this post is because of the timing. I was actually listening to a moment of truth in which he was talking about how the Hispanic community or Latino community, however you want to call it, is about to start overwhelmingly, if they haven't already started overwhelmingly voting more for the GOP or right or conservative Republican, however you want to put it. And what I was doing was I was listening to his moment of truth and I was sharing it on Twitter. And I just happened to scroll down and saw that I got tagged in a post and Melanated Shadow and said, Torian, this Sambo is in your neck of the woods. Put him on the Summer Jam screen. And I was like, okay, let me look into this. And I've heard of this Wes Moore individual before. And look at what he is doing right now as far as his political campaign. He's running for governor, by the way. He said, love joining friends and leaders this morning to kick off the 17th Maryland Hispanic Business Conference. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that this was a thing. But they said 17th, so that means for the last 17 years, this has been something that's been going on. The Latino community is the fastest growing small business community in Maryland. And, you know, with the help of them busing them here is going to continue to grow even faster. I will always celebrate, uplift, and empower that entrepreneurship. Maryland needs it. So here you have a man, a black man, and this is him right here, being a primary spokesperson or a speaker at this Maryland Hispanic Business Conference. They don't even have they probably do, but he's probably one of the more well-known people because he's running for governor, and that's a huge position for the state of Maryland. Like you're literally you're governing an entire state. And look at what he's doing right here. And this is exactly why a lot of black people have to be really careful about who you are casting your vote for whenever you go to that ballot box. They'll trot out a black person and say, you know, oh, it's going to be amazing, you know, because it's a black face. And they'll expect black people to just go out in droves and vote for them because they're black. And if they're Democrat and black, then that's, you know, double the points for them. But when you really dissect, who are they really for? Who are you really about to vote for? This guy is speaking at a Maryland Hispanic Business Conference. He said that the Latino community is the fastest growing small business community in the state of Maryland, not just in a part of Maryland, but the entire state. He said he will celebrate, uplift, and empower that entrepreneurship. Doesn't that almost sound like something that Stacey Abrams said down in Georgia? You know, when I did that breakdown about her so-called black men agenda, but in the first part of the video, I was talking about how she went and spoke in front of a group of Latinos, illegal or not, about what she was going to do specifically for them. The same can apply here. And it's crazy because isn't she running for governor down there too? And this guy's running for governor for Maryland, and look at what he's doing for the Latino community. They actually think they have a friend in them. And like I said, the irony, I was just listening to PBT's MOT about how a lot of the people in Hispanic and Latino community
are voting more for the GOP, which means they will not get their vote. See, the thing is, what it is, they have lost, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, y'all. I don't know what you think about it, but this is just my take. I truly believe they have lost the grip or the stranglehold, the chokehold, if you will, that they have had on Black people for so long. I think they're realizing that Black people are not just going to vote, and this is not every Black person, but a sector of Black people are not going to vote for them just because the person looks like them. That's just silly. That's absurd. It's gotten past that point. We, as Black people who have some common sense, are now demanding something specifically for our vote. And if you are not meeting those demands, then you're not going to get it. Because I don't see anything anywhere that says Wes Moore is going to do anything specifically for Black people. And then you have people out here trying to say, oh, well, we can't do anything for everybody or for a specific group. We got to do it for everybody. Obama said it. We know Kamala the Chameleon said it. And all these other little plants are doing the same thing. But then they'll turn right around and do the complete opposite of what they said, contradict themselves and lie and do everything for everybody else. And then everybody else gives them their ass to kiss. And then they're the ones left holding the bag. And it's a pretty empty one at that. And if it is something in there, it's just a bag full of shit. And then we are left out high and dry. So you'll sit there as a Black person, as a politician, and elevate all these other people, all these other groups, and then sit back and tell us you can't do anything specifically for us. These goddamn liars, they are. I say it now, I will continue to say it until I'm blue in the face. There will never, ever be another politician like Marion Barry. And for those in Chicago, I'll throw in Harold Washington because I heard that he did stuff specifically for the Black community up there as well. But Marion Barry was definitely one of a kind, which is why they had to try to do all kinds of tricks and schemes and scandals to get him up out of there. Because he wasn't the mayor for everyone. Sure, he probably did stuff for other people, but he made sure to put his people first and foremost. A lot of the infrastructure that was put in DC at that time was specifically for Black people. And of course, now with it being gentrified heavy, they're basically undoing what he did. They're making it the way in the image that they wanted. They wanted him to make it, but he didn't. So they said, you know what, we're going to make it in the image that we have always wanted it. And that's why the gentrification in DC is like very intense now, very heavy. I remember when I was in school, when I was in college and I left, to go to college in 2007, DC was one way. I came back home in 2008 for the break, and I'm looking like, what are they building up? By the time I was graduated from college in 2011, DC looked like a whole different place. And one thing that I learned when I was watching Gentrified by Jason Black, he said in his documentary that when you see a Whole Foods pop up, just know that your area is about to be gentrified. And sure enough, I saw a couple of them in DC. One of them is attached to a complex that's near where the National Stadium is. And all of that area is completely gentrified now. You got the National Stadiums on one side, and then you got the soccer stadium right down the street, a Whole Foods right there, and a bunch of expensive six-figure condos surrounding it. When I went to college in 2007, none of that was there. I think they were starting to break ground for the National Stadium, but that soccer stadium definitely wasn't there. Now it's completely different. Let's put it this way. DC of 2002 looks way different than DC of 2022. I'll put it like that. The only really upscale part of DC that was around in 2002 was Georgetown, or anywhere in that area. The rest of it was very much still Chocolate City. Now it looks more like Swirl City. But now it's going to be looking like Caramel City in a second. But back to this guy right here, Wes Moore. The name sounds familiar, but now that I'm even more familiar with him, I'm for sure he's definitely on my radar, and not in a good way. And see, what they're banking on is that Black people are going to come out and vote for him in droves. Why? Because if I'm not mistaken, if he does become governor, he will be the first Black governor for the state of Maryland, because Larry Hogan is stepping down. Like, he's not running again. So this is going to be a whole new governor. Whether he wins or whoever he's running against wins, that's going to be the new governor for the state of Maryland. I don't know if it's because if Larry Hogan can't run again, or if he's just stepping down because he's tired. He's out of it. He's just done with it. So they're banking on Black people to vote for him on a quote unquote historical front. Oh, if you vote for me, I'll be the first Black governor. And that's good for him. That doesn't do ish for us. We see who he's doing it for. But they'll sit up there and say what they can't do for Black people. And these are other Black people telling Black people that to their face. And unfortunately, you'll still have some brain dead Negroes that'll still go out and vote for them because they hate the other side so much. Well, we know that they're not going to do nothing they aren't going to do anything for us. So the thing is, don't vote at all. But then they'll come and say, well, if you don't vote, that's like a vote for them. That's a bunch of BS too. I hate that. That's another seed, a mental seed they planted in black people's head for them to peddle out there to try to guilt trip black people to go into voting a particular side. Now, it's something else that Professor Black Truth said in his moment of truth when it came to the Hispanics, and he had mentioned Tiffany Cross, and I actually quoted him when I shared the tweet. So, Tiffany, since you want to lecture black people, black men in particular, in saying, you know, we're going to vote for the oppressor and try to shame us for voting for the other side, even if we're not, because in their mind, if we're not voting Democrat, we're just automatically voting for the other group, and if we're not voting at all, we're still voting for them, which is ridiculous. So, Tiffany, my question to you is, are you going to shame the Latinos and Hispanics if they vote for the quote unquote oppressor or not? We know that she's not going to do it, but I figure we just ask Big Sister Loudmouth, and she has to have a word and take on everything that doesn't require any vocals from her. We know she's not going to say it, but I figure I just ask. You never know. She might actually say something, but I know that she won't. Her paymasters won't allow her to do it. They'll let her have all the smoke in the world when it comes to black people. But when it comes to other groups, she's going to be quiet as a little mouse, like the little mouse that she is. Well, I take that back. Mice aren't loud. But as far as this Wes Moore character and seeing how this is close to home, because this is in the state that I'm in, he would never get my support, ever. And hopefully he, like Stacey Abrams, falls flat on their face come November. They are telling you, black people, to your face, who they are supporting, who they want support from. They're not coming to you. This guy they don't, as far as I know, have a Maryland Black Business Conference. Like I said, I didn't even know this existed. But they'll get out there and they'll not so much tap dance with them, but they'll dance, do the salsa and bop their head to a mariachi band while shaking them maracas and clicking them castanets and slapping them spoons on their kneecap for these other groups. But when it comes to us, crickets. Oh, they'll tell us what they can't do for us. Remember, Kamala the Chameleon said specifically, he said, so you can't sit up there and ask me what I'm going to do for black people? No. But when it comes to these other groups, yes. Same with the others. They are no different. They are all the same. They are all reading and playing off of the same playbook. It seems like black people, not all, are the ones who didn't read the fine print, though. But maybe I can be proven wrong. Maybe I can be proven wrong. Maybe a lot of us can be proven wrong come November and see what happens and see what these results are. But as of right now, let's just say I wouldn't bet the farm on it. But I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. This is one of them cases where I want to be wrong so bad when it comes to how black people are going to vote come November. If this guy loses and Stacey Abrams loses, there might actually be some hope there. That means whatever we're putting out there has been effective. Now, what will be even more funny is if they lose and you see all these pundits and all these shills, heads literally explode like in that scene from that movie Kingsman. If y'all seen that movie, you know exactly what scene I'm talking about. But we shall see what happens. But as of right now, I'm not holding my breath. I had to throw this part in here. This is actually a couple days after me recording the part that you just heard, and I'm bringing it over to this because this actually just came to my attention when that thread kind of popped up about Wes Moore. So apparently there was a debate that was held or supposed to be held at Morgan State University. Now, of course, if you aren't from the state of Maryland, Morgan State is an HBCU, and I believe there's only 3 HBCUs in the state of Maryland. That's Morgan State, Bowie State, and University of Maryland Eastern Shore. It might be another one in there, but I know those 3 off of the top of my head. So there was a debate that was supposed to be happening at Morgan State University, and it was a debate between Wes Moore and Brian Cox, who you see right here in the picture. This is for the governor's spot in the state of Maryland to take the place of Larry Hogan. Now, apparently, Wes Moore did not show up to the debate, or he skipped out on it to make an appearance on some kind of television program. I'm not entirely sure, but this is what was told to me. And Brian Cox showed up. So if he was to get the upper hand, it wouldn't be Brian Cox's fault. It would be Wes Moore's fault. And then on top of that, what makes this even more worse is look in the background. Look in the background. What do you see? And then on top of that, like I said, Morgan State is an HBCU, and Wes Moore is a black man, and he didn't even have the decency to show up. Now, I think they said they ended up rescheduling the debate for sometime in October. I'm not entirely sure all the details, but Wes Moore wasn't there. Look at this, as Trump-backed candidate courts black voters at Maryland's largest HBCU. Just that title alone lets you know that someone was not there that was supposed to be there. Well, like I said in the previous part of the video, you see who he was catering to. So Maryland right now is in a bit of a debacle. You have a person like Wes Moore who is catering to the Latinos to get their vote, even though we have seen so many videos of them wanting to be more right-leaning. Then you have this guy, Brian Cox, and you see in the background who his support is coming from. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this ends up turning out in the end. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell twice to be notified. And if for any reason the bell is not working, I upload my videos in a Premiere style.
So there's that video right there. That's a throwback for y'all. That was back in 2022. And I must say, even sped up, that sounded real crispy. I didn't have like all that excess noise around me. It came out, it actually sounded like I recorded this inside of a studio. That's what I was referring to. I think I'm actually getting a mic isolator or whatever that thing is called. I actually ordered one yesterday, so I can get that same quality back. But anyway, let me go ahead and drop the link, and y'all can come on up and speak to this. And if y'all live in the state of Maryland, I definitely want to hear from y'all because this is more relatable. Not saying no one else can't come up, but if you live in the state of Maryland, I would definitely like to hear from y'all. All right, let me go. Let me get my timer. All right. Wallow, what's going on?
What's going on, Torian? What's going on, everybody? In the chat, I'm gonna be short, brief because I'm at work. It's the same old playbook that they're using. It ain't nothing new. It ain't nothing like surprising because, like you said, they're trying to basically get the Latinos to vote for them. But ever since 2020, no, was it 2012? So it was like 71% voted for Obama. Ever since then, it's been dipping lower and lower and lower to where it's at now with Donald Trump. So they've been trying to get the Latinos to vote with them. Them Latinos like, nah, we don't go that way. We might go this way, but we just gonna go this way to get what we want, and then we're gonna move y'all out the way and go with the real money's at. So they're gonna fuck around and find out again in 2026, maybe in 2028, 2030. 2032 is going to keep going on. And I will say this proudly, the only Democrat I voted for this past election was the current governor of my state, because I was not family, y'all got to understand that. That's the only reason why. Other than that, fuck everybody else. And I'll land my plane there.
Appreciate you coming up. And Wallow, I'm going to be honest with you. I probably would have did the same thing because there's no way Mark Robinson would have ever set foot as governor in my state, not as long as I had breath in my body. So I completely understand why you did it, and I'm glad y'all succeeded. And notice we haven't heard from Mark in a while. I think we haven't heard from him since the election, and I am perfectly fine with that. Yeah, Josh Stein, brother man. But yeah, Mark Robinson, he would have been a nightmare. He would have been horrible. But there's the link, y'all, if anybody would like to come up. And also, speaking of links, if you haven't hit the Give, Send, Go for Carmelo Anthony, that is pinned right there at the top of the chat. Damon said, I graduated from Largo in 79, left Maryland for California in 80. Landover, Maryland was my hood. Well, I don't have to tell you what Landover looks like now. At least when you were there, that mall was still there. It's nothing there now. Well, I mean, I don't know because I don't go over there. But that mall that mall was closed for years, and they just left it there. And the only thing they had open at the time was the Sears. And it's like, do y'all need all this excess stuff just for one store? And then when Sears finally went out of business, then, I guess they condemned it finally. Jay said, just check out the all-you-can-eat buffet. I don't think there's many buffet-style places like that anymore. Ever since the pandemic, a lot of them went out of business. I think the only one that really was able to thrive outside of that was Golden Corral. But before 2020, Oh, there was a lot of buffet spots. Which one, Jay? Are you talking about Austin Metcalf or Carmelo Anthony? If you talking about Carmelo Anthony, then the only legit one is the one I have pinned up there, the Gibson Go. He doesn't have a GoFundMe. Oh wow, Wallow, you just bought something back for me. I forgot about Ryan's. I forgot all about Ryan's. That was one of those buffet spots that I would rarely go to, but when I did enjoy the food. Yeah, Ryan's was good. Of course, you know, you had Golden Corral, you had Greater for us. I don't know if this spot was anywhere outside of the DMV area, but we had a place called the Great American Buffet. It was one that was right across the bridge, but now it's turned into a dispensary. You had Old Country Buffet, you had Ryan's. There was even another one called the Bond Buffet, which I think was more like a I think that was more like an Asian or a Asian based buffet style thing. You also had Phillips, which if y'all live in DC, y'all knew about Phillips. It was a seafood style buffet spot right there on what was the old wharf before it became the gentrified version of the wharf. I think Miss Nisi asked me a question, or it said, okay, she said a question. He said, haven't seen Seven Sam in the new Black media chats in a while. Good question. I hope everything is all right, because I haven't seen her either. And I know she subscribed to my Patreon as well. Maybe life has been lifing, but I hope she's doing good nonetheless. No, infamous the Wharf. The Wharf was a spot in DC where a lot of people went and got their seafood from. Like they got it fresh. Like it was like and on the weekends it would always be packed. That's because that's when a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the fresh stuff was there. And it would be like it was on a it wasn't like a dock, but it was right there on the water, and they had a whole bunch of shops where you can get fresh fish, lobster, shrimp, any type of seafood fresh from there that they would get out of the water, out of the sea, and you would go and pick it up, you know, take it home, clean it, cook it, fry it, whatever. And then of course, if you didn't want to go to the wharf, you could drive 45 minutes to an hour up the road and go to Baltimore and get your fresh crab from there, because Baltimore, well, the state of Maryland is known for its crabs. Not those crabs for those with filthy minds. I'm talking about the ones that you eat. I'm talking about, you know, the full crab, blue crab, crab legs, Alaskan king crab legs, all of that good stuff. That's where you would go if you wanted to get that. Not saying you can get it from the wharf, but if you really, really want that, the exceptional ones, you go there. See, and that's the thing. Every time, I remember the time I had told people that Maryland is the state known for its crabs, people looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, wait a minute, time out. Flag on the play. Not those, not that. I'm talking about the ones that you eat. It's like I always got to reiterate it because people's mind just immediately goes to that for some odd reason. Brotherman says the war's still open. Not the one that I'm talking about. I mean, it's there, but it's gentrified. It's basically become like it's condos and like restaurants there now, but they still kept the title. But it's not the, you know what? Hold on. Let me see if I can find a picture of what the wharf looked like back in the day, so y'all can see for yourself what it looked like before they gentrified it. Hold on. Okay, so here's a picture of the wharf This is probably like in the 90s, maybe. Now, that's just one side of it. Now, as you can see, it doesn't look busy because it's not a lot of people there, but that's because this part right here was just a spot like people would park here. Well, the people who work there. But you can look right here where my cursor is, it's a whole bunch of people. And as you can look and tell, the wharf literally attracted nothing but mainly black people. This was back when DC was known as Chocolate City because it was majority black. But then when they started building on them extra train lines, that's when it became Swirl City. That's what I decided to call it after that. But this is what the wharf, this is just one part of it. It's bigger than this. But this is what it will look like. And like I said, people would come there and they would go, and if they wanted to, if people wanted to make seafood boils, this is where they would come and get it. And it was more, sometimes it was more affordable than in the store. So that's why a lot of people went there, and it was fresh. It wasn't tainted or messed with. Denise, Ms. Denise says, do you follow her? Does she have, you said on Twitter? I didn't know she had a Twitter account unless she does, and I forgot. But yeah, this was the wharf. These were the days I remember, and I remember at one point in time, I didn't really like seafood. It was a point in my life where I did not like seafood. Like when I was a kid, I couldn't mess with it. But I always found it entertaining when people would go and they would get the newspaper, get a whole bunch of crabs and crab legs and sit around the table and crack them things and eat them while they had the beer on the side. I always found that to be entertaining to watch, but for me, I just couldn't stand it. And then one day I discovered fried shrimp. And the rest is history. Now I can eat just about any seafood. I feel bad for those who are allergic to shellfish. But yeah, like I like going to like those seafood spots. If I can get the boil, I would tear that thing up. Reparations said that she hasn't posted since March 3rd, Miss Nisi. You said you can't eat fried shrimp. And I'll admit I haven't had fried shrimp in a while, but that was my gateway into to liking seafood. That was the one. And then I remember when I had went to an event and they had those jumbo shrimp, or sometimes they'll call them prawns, and they had that dish of cocktail sauce. And they were saying I was only allowed to get one. Shoot. Who didn't spin around and go and get them like two more? Me. It's easy, you'll tear some fried oysters. I remember when I had the first shell, I guess you can say the first one that was inside of the shell was mussels. I first had mussels when I was an undergrad. I think it was like maybe like 08, 09. And I had mussels. And the way that the person who made them steamed them and seasoned them, oh my God, I damn near wanted to eat the shell. William said here in Cali, we have the boiling crab. That sounds familiar. Us for out here, we have the crab, like I guess you could say the crab houses we got is Hook and Reel. And it's another one. Crab something. I forgot, but Hook and Reel, and it's another one called Crab something, but I can't think of the whole name. Yeah, mussels are good. Mussels are delicious. Oh yeah, Chris, he said Old Bay. Listen, Old Bay is a staple, okay? If you ain't got no Old Bay, then why are you making seafood? And he said, well, that's one positive thing about living in the Pacific Northwest. We have an abundance of fresh seafood. Yep. Especially when you're living near the water. It's always going to be fresh. Dawson said, I lived in Salisbury, Maryland. That's the first time I had blue crabs. Yeah, like if you want to get fresh crabs, the state of Maryland is the place you would go to get it. I remember the first time I had crab cakes. Speaking of crabs, I remember the first time I had crab cakes, and I was like, I don't know what I've been missing out on. Again, I didn't start out as a youngster liking seafood, and I said, what have I been missing out on? And now when I went to college, one of my roommates, they made something called salmon patties, which is basically the same thing as a crab cake, but instead of crab, it's salmon. And that was really good. That was really good. Now, I've always said that I wanted to try crawfish, but I would prefer to try it in New Orleans. I always feel like if I want to get the staple for whatever the city is known for, I would prefer to get it from that place because I feel it's more authentic. Not knocking anybody else. Now, I will say this. If the person is making the crawfish or any food that's a staple from a place and they're from that place, then I'll trust it because then it's like if that's as close as it's going to get from me, hey, it is what it is. Hey, Auntie, what's going on? And I saw the method to how you eat the crawfish. I think it's like they say you twist it and then you pull and then you, well, you know. Wallace said, I don't like my food looking at me. They take out the eyes then. Wallace said, that's evil. Yeah, but the wharf was that's when I said those were one of those times that I liked as a kid growing up was going to the wharf. Even though I didn't eat any seafood, it was always fun going with my parents to go there. They went to the wharf probably every other week. Probably every other week or maybe once a month at the least. We was at that wharf. And probably had to, and because it was so many people, you could be there for like 30 minutes at a time because it was the wharf was always packed. It was never a time when the wharf wasn't packed unless it was closed. Or also depending on what time of the day you went as well. That's why I said the weekends was always crowded because people were off work and the wharf stayed open later. Oh, yeah, Christopher, the boardwalk fries is a staple in Ocean City for sure. Like whenever I go to Ocean City, I make sure to get those boardwalk fries. I make sure to get them, get a little ketchup on it and put some vinegar. Oh my God. If y'all never had boardwalk fries from Ocean City and you never did the ketchup and vinegar combination, you missing out. Just giving y'all a heads up. And I don't like really putting vinegar on my stuff, but on those boardwalk fries, and I only do it with those fries. Like I don't do it with any other fry. And the reason why I say that is because and they're always fresh out the oil too. Like they don't give you no stale fries that's just sitting there under the hot light. No, they make those fries right there as you order them. Take them out that fryer, they nice and hot. Put some ketchup and some vinegar on it. Diet be damned that weekend or week that you go to Ocean City. I'm just saying. On second one, speaking of Long John Silver's, I'm glad you brought that up. Anybody who lives in the state of Maryland, particularly in PG County via Forestville, knows that it was a Long John Silver over there across from Forestville Mall that was just there for a long time. And it's like, who still goes to Long John Silver? I promise you, I think I only went to Long John Silver one time in my entire life. And that was enough for me. That was it. And we was like, why is this place even still open? Well, last year or maybe 2 years ago, they finally closed that thing down. Because it was like, who was still going to Long John Silver? let me put it this way: Long John Silver was for, well, that was for PC. I'm just being honest. Long John Silver was more for PC. Yeah, Long John Silver was not good. It wasn't good. It was nasty, Moochie. I'll tell you that. I guess I only went there one time, and I didn't need to go back. Dark Titan said, I heard Arthur Treacher's is coming back in Ohio. Listen, now that's a name I haven't heard or seen in a long time. Arthur's Treachers? It was an Arthur's Treachers right up the street from me. Of course, where I'm living now, I wasn't there, but at the time it was there. It's something else completely different now. But Arthur's Treachers, I don't think I ever ate from there. I would always see it, but I never ate there. Now, Ms. Nisi, I never had Captain D's either. Oh, see, this is why. Hold on. This is why I feel like I'm having a connection with my people right now. I feel like I'm finding my tribe with this discussion. Yes, I remember Shakey's Pizza in Silver Hill. I remember going to Shakey's. I remember. It's funny you say that because I remember what a Shakey's is. It's at, I think the spot is a dialysis spot now. I think it's a dialysis spot where the Shakey's used to be, or it's near there. It's right across the street from where the Fridays is. And if you remember, the Fridays used to be a Black Eyed Peas. Black Eyed Peas was a restaurant, y'all, by the way, in case y'all didn't know. And now it's a TGI Fridays. And I know right next to it is a Burger King. Then you got a Shoppers on the other side. Planet Fitness is in the back. And it's like a whole bunch of other stores. It used to be a Radio Shack over there too. But Shakey's Pizza was so good. Yeah, I remember Shakey's. Yeah, Shakey's is pretty much done. Like if they're like whatever Shakey's there were that was in existence is no longer there. I don't think I ever had fried chicken from Shakey's. I only went there for the pizza. Yeah, but Shakey's has been out of business for years now. I think Shakey's went out of business probably when I was in high school. Yeah, so that's been a while. Dimmerface, I said, I remember when Pizza Hut was actually good in the 70s and 80s when it was a diner. Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Pizza Hut, you could used to dine in at Pizza Hut. Now a lot of them are like you just order it to go. There are still some Pizza Huts that allow you to dine in, but not many. Just to say we got Hook and Reel and Red Lobster out here, and then Red Lobster is still very much around. So I mean, there was always this thing we're saying they were going to go out of business, but they've been saying that for years, but they're still here. Remember when Red Lobster was considered fine dining? Oh, those were the days when Red Lobster was considered fine dining. You know, you walk up in there. You know, you had people dress up, not like completely dressed up, but dressed like casual. And you had the dim lights. But then when Red Lobster became more mainstream, it took away that fine dining experience. But like I said, I didn't used to eat seafood, so I would get anything else on the menu that was not seafood related. For me, I always like going there to watch the lobsters inside of the tank. You know, when you walk in there, you see the tank with the lobsters inside of it, and they had the band on the claws. So when people had to go in there and get them so they would be cooked, they wouldn't get snapped by them. But yes, the Cheddar Bay biscuits, that is what's keeping Red Lobster in business, in my honest opinion. And speaking of Pizza Hut, remember when Pizza Hut used to have the salad bar? Who remembers, speaking of pizza and buffets, who remembers CC's Pizza? I think CC's Pizza was like the first pizza-based buffet. I'm not even gonna lie, I used to love going to CC's. That was actually one of my mother's favorite spots. And she didn't really like buffet spots like that unless it was something that, you know, she just wanted something quick or something like that. But she loved CC's. Wallace said CC's was ass too. I never forget the time, and this is a funny story. When I had went to Great American Buffet, and for those of my people who live in the DMV area know it, the one I'm talking about, the one that's on over there on Route 1. And you know how when you had the salad bar, they had the mountain of butter. It was like this, it was a mountain of butter. Like it looked like it was in the shape of an egg. I don't know how they did it. And you could just kind of scoop it off the top and put it on whatever you need to put butter on. Tell me why my dad, he had got some ice cream. And he thought that he was getting whipped cream to put on his ice cream. But he ended up scooping the butter and putting it on his ice cream. Because the thing is, the butter wasn't that hard solid butter. It was like a whipped cream looking butter. It was real soft. Like it was real like how whipped cream would look. And when he put that on there, and I had looked at him, I said, "Do you know what you just put on your ice cream?" And he had to look back at it. He was like, "Oh shit." He put butter on his ice cream and thought it was whipped cream. Yep, the whipped butter. When I tell you I laughed so hard, I think the people looked at me like I was crazy. He was so embarrassed. I think it was embarrassing because he did it, but he was even more embarrassed because I was laughing like dead in his face loudly. It wasn't one of those quiet laughs. I was laughing hysterically. Unsunken one says the last time I was in CC's was in 2016. Well, that'll probably be the last time you go because I don't think CC's around anymore. Yeah, Ryan's did have some good rolls. Oh, Ryan has some good rolls. Let's see. You have your Cheddar Bay biscuit, you know, from Red Lobster. Ryan had good rolls. Don't sleep on the breadsticks from Olive Garden and that salad. I'm telling you right now. The salad and the breadsticks at Olive Garden are so good. But you got to have them together, though. You can have it by yourself, but why would you? Why would you want to? Chris said, "Do you remember the Tasty Freeze?" Come on now. Tasty Freeze? Listen. I remember always riding by there and I would see that ice cream cone sticking out the side of the building and just be like, listen, y'all got to pull over right now. You got to. Now, this Tasty Freeze, this was before I even knew what a Dairy Queen was. Like that was before I even knew what a Dairy Queen was. I'll give you one better. I'll see your Tasty Freeze and raise you a TCBY. Who in the chat remembers TCBY? Yeah, it is a Jamaican restaurant now. My mother loved TCBY, and she would always get the waffle cone with the wet nuts paws. I always wanted the waffle cone too, but because my hands were so tiny, I could barely hold it. But TCBY. That wasn't really ice cream, though. They called it frozen yogurt. Yeah, it used to be in Forestville. It was also one over there near where Crossland is. Crossland High School. I remember the one I remember that one more than anything because that was the one I would typically always go to because that was closer. And you want to know what's even more interesting? Chuck E. Cheese is still around. It's nowhere near the Chuck E. Cheese like it was when we were growing up. But who remembers Discovery Zone? For me, I liked Discovery Zone more than Chuck E. Cheese. I felt like in Discovery Zone, you was gonna burn some calories up in there with all the stuff they had going on up in there. Discovery Zone, in my opinion, was better than Chuck E. Cheese. Yep, DZ for Discovery Zone. But if you wanted to know a true Maryland staple, specifically a PG County staple, and I'm sure all of my Maryland people will know about this one. Who remembers Jeepers? Anybody who lives in the state of Maryland or is from the state of Maryland, who remembers Jeepers? They had the little roller coaster inside of there. I knew it was at was that PG? Was that PG Plaza? Where they had Jeepers at? It was in one of the malls. I think I only went to Jeep, but the thing is, I didn't go to Jeepers like that. I didn't go that much. And usually when I did go, it was always for a party or something like that. It's not like one of the things I just went just because. And then, you know, when Discovery Zone, you know, got shut down, Jeepers got shut down. And then entered Dave & Buster's, which is still thriving to this day. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Beltway Plaza Mall. Because I remember there also used to be a Joe's Crab Shack out there, too. All right, y'all. It was good going down memory lane with y'all. Like I said, it's amazing how this whole situation, how we was able to turn this whole conversation around. We went and started talking about food from our childhood and different restaurants and spots. I guess that just means we hungry. But anyway, y'all, I'm about to get up out of here. Shout out to each and every person that came through. Shout out to Ms. Nisi for being a member for 14 months. Shout out to Wallow for coming up and speaking, you know, on this topic. 2 videos coming tomorrow, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. So be on the lookout for that. Y'all, make sure, shout out to everybody on Patreon. Shout out to all the members on here. Shout out to the replay gang as well. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe, and most importantly, be one.